Hi gang, number one Marmaduke fan here, and we're looking at Be Prepared by Vera Brosgol. I read Vera Brosgol's first graphic novel, Anya's Ghost, years ago before I had this channel, and I love Anya's Ghost. So this was an instant grab. You will probably also know Vera from work she's done as a storyboard artist. So in addition to her first graphic novel, Anya's Ghost, let's see her. I haven't seen her picture book, Leave Me Alone, but she worked as a storyboard artist for Laika, and her credits include Coraline and Kubo and the Two Strings. So this is an industry professional, and I loved Be Prepared. So this is the kind of thing I want out of storytelling, in contrast to, I don't know, like a lot of drama in the world of comics. So like number one is Vera kind of has this sort of sweet little cartoon style, and that's a good illustration of how, you know, the Tumblr style or the Cal Art style, there's been a lot of heat about that. It doesn't have to be a bad thing as long as you are enthusiastic, as long as you're working, as long as you're staying active and are critical of your style. So and it fits really well to kind of this sort of biopic type of comic. The other thing she did that I appreciate is it's obviously based on real life experiences, but she's actually concerned about reworking it into a story that's actually interesting to read, and she's successful at that. So the setup for this is that Vera is the author, and the character is Vera, based on her, but some things are fictionalized. And Vera has this problem that she doesn't fit in. She's too Russian to fit in with the American kids, so she gets the idea to go to Russian camp. And it turns out she's not Russian enough to fit in at the Russian camp, and she's kind of the wrong age. She's so young, she's barely old enough to be in the old kids camp, but she's too old to be in the little girls camp. So it's a painful problem, and this is a relatable problem. So like I went to camp as a kid, and I had to deal with a bully there, right? And he would do like a lot of like emotional bullying, and you had to learn some things in camp. You kind of figured out how to put up with a lot of bleep, and put up with roughing it and getting bit by bugs. And even if you hated it and you wanted to get home as soon as possible and never come back, when you look back on the experience, it's like you learned something. And also, feeling alone and feeling left out isn't exclusive to any racial or ethnic group. She's Russian. Russians are white. Russians have as much trouble as any immigrant group trying to fit in with weird kids and speaking a different language and having different cultural expectations. And what this ends up being is this really beautiful story about a girl learning to overcome difficulty and learning to make good choices and demonstrate agency and endure. This is the anti-Mary Sue character archetype. She has problems, she has to work hard to overcome those problems and get smarter and improve herself. She can't just win by being super special awesome and demanding that life give her things. So the opening section is this really kind of sad, heart punch where she's going to the sleepover and she just doesn't fit in and she doesn't get it. She doesn't get why she doesn't fit in. She tries to have them over to her house and make it special, and the girls clearly don't want to be there. It's not like they're mean to her. It's not like they're saying, hey, you're Russian, let's beat you up, cheesy 90s sitcom style. She just doesn't get how to be a good friend or make friends in the first place. At camp, the older girls that she's stuck with, they kind of they look down on her. Her camp counselor, Natasha, is a little flustered and can't keep up with all the kids, but she's actually a really decent camp counselor and gives her really good advice. I want to skip ahead to where she starts having her moral quandary. So one of the things that she kind of puts two and two together while she's at camp is this is a Russian camp. It's all about kind of connecting Russian kids to their history and culture. And so during Russian Orthodox Church outside, she kind of makes the connection that the saints would endure all of this suffering. And her namesake, Saint Vera, was tortured and killed while, along with her sisters, while her mother watched. So she kind of figures out that, there's a lot of suffering in life. And if Saint Vera suffered, then it's kind of cute how, she's just a little kid and these are little kid problems, but she still is going through a rough time at camp, and it's sort of like this is giving her something to continue on, and it gives her a sense of history. Like Russians would suffer invasions. Russians would starve to death in the 17th century. The Russian communists killed parts of members of her family and banned camps like this. I think it's really, really good to remind kids that communism is bad. I've really got to find oh, I forgot it, but I'll look it up. There's some really good, books about people growing up in, Soviet controlled countries that are really impactful to me. So save that for another time. But I love anti-communism in my comics. The moral quandary for her comes when she kind of sees like this older boy who is also getting bullied. He's having a hard time fitting in. He clearly doesn't want to be there, and his dad's making him be there. So she kind of innocently makes the comment that the bug bite on his head looks like a nipple, and then the others pick that up and start calling him tit head, and then she joins in, tit head. Because she's been having a hard time, she wants to make someone else suffer to make her feel better, and really, really impactful. Now, they don't make like a big deal out of it. It's just, you just notice this, and then things keep moving on, and it's sort of like she has to figure out that this isn't helping her. This isn't solving her problem. Sharing the misery won't make her feel better. So she starts learning how to be like a decent person, and it all kind of comes together for her when she goes off alone. She feels alone again, just like she was in the sleepover, and she sees a moose. This is a fictionalized aspect of it. The real Vera Brogsoul says she went out and she heard a moose, but she didn't get to actually see it. So the comic book Vera gets to see a moose, and the drawing style changes. So kind of like straightforward, simple rectangular panels, getting you into this nice quick rhythm of very simple drawing, big 2-page spread to kind of highlight the importance of this moment. And sort of like getting to see something in nature is the first little helpful boost she needed to figure out, maybe I shouldn't just be whining about camp this whole time. Maybe I should try to like make things work out. So she finds a girl who has some similarities to her. She's nice to her, and even then it's kind of like she's a little stupid, and she's not quite she's a smart nerd girl, but she's kind of stupid about people and social stuff. I really like this gag where the girl tells her, go talk to a nurse because she got bit by a chipmunk and she was afraid she had rabies. I will, asterisk, I didn't. This was dumb. If you're bitten by a wild animal, please go see a doctor and not a kid. And it's like she still doesn't get, oh, hey, I should be friends with this person. It takes her like a couple tries before she figures out the obvious solution to her problem and then goes for it. But then that makes it more meaningful when she does figure it out because you're rooting for her. You're watching her struggle. You're watching her have a hard time. And once she starts to see camp as a challenge she can overcome, she starts doing badass stuff. There's this game of capture the flag where if the boys win, the girls have a punishment. If the girls win, the boys have a punishment. And the boys keep winning, and she screwed up on guard duty a few times. So she figures out, well, what I should do is I should just learn the path to the boys' house because the girls are just walking around with flashlights, screwing around and not even getting close. I should actually like go in there covertly, just grab the flag and get back. It's a really simple, straightforward plan. She prepares for it. She works for it. I like seeing her kind of like think through her options and what'll work best, and then come up with a plan and then follow through on it. And then things work out. There are side characters who kind of have their own little dramas. Like the older girls have like this whole boy shenanigan thing going on that she doesn't really understand. She starts drawing comics based on, ghost stories they told at the camp for the first time. So you can sort of see how she's becoming her own person while at this camp. And having made friends, having kind of like risen to the challenge of camp, she figures it out and she finally has a good time for the last part of it. And that's what it is. And then it kind of leaves off with there's going to be maybe there'll be more kind of like biopics based on Vera's experience, but who knows? But it's a really good. I've got a problem. I don't know how I fit in. I'm going to rise to the challenge and actually overcome these problems. I love the connection to the Russian Orthodox culture. I loved seeing her kind of connect her problem to the history of people in Russia going through suffering and having to endure suffering and then having to do something proactive to solve your problems. Great, great, great stuff. This is everything a comic should be. It's taking a difficult experience. It's putting it into the context of a narrative. So kids who are having parallel problems, I don't fit in at school, no one likes me, I don't know why they don't like me, I try to be their friend and give them stuff and then they just use me and manipulate me. It's giving you actual, genuine, good advice by using the context of a narrative. This is the part where she explains like which parts were real and which parts were made up. I want to read this actually because this is just some good like creative process stuff. Even if you could remember everything that has happened during 1 month or 20 years ago, chances are it wouldn't make the best story. Days go by where nothing interesting happens, then too much happens, but to the wrong people. Characters don't get their just desserts. It would be a bad book. Yes, she actually cares about, good, enjoyable fiction. I actually spent 2 summer months at camp, but consolidated the experience into one very eventful one. I wrote down all my memories in a big list, then grilled my siblings for their memories. My mom dug up old letters and photos. I also interviewed Natasha, a former counselor who has been at the camp much more recently than me. I even went to this camp myself, sneaking in during an open house to sketch and take photos. It was exactly as I remembered it, though they had added a door to the Hollywood, which is the outhouse, and the campers were no longer washing their hair in the lake, thanks to Clean Water Act. I arranged those memories into what felt like a good story, changing names and locations to protect people's privacy and making up new characters. I really did have that awful sleepover party and get bitten by a chipmunk. I didn't have an awesome counselor like Natasha, but I did have a great friend like Kira. I really did go off alone in Hiramoose, but I never laid eyes on it. Gregor lost his boot in a mud hole, but I don't think he ever got justice. Books can be nicer than life sometimes. That's good. So she gave us a break from all of the mean bully stuff at camp, so it wasn't just hopeless bullying. It gave us some moments of hope and justice for the characters. Though some details changed a bit for dramatic purposes, the feelings are 100% true. I set out to write about a hard, lonely summer I had when I was a kid. It always took me a long time to make friends, and being dropped into a strange environment with older kids and giant horseflies didn't play to my strengths. Plenty of people love summer camp and look forward to it every year. Hooray for them, but I was not one of those people. I know I'm not alone in that experience, and this book will hopefully make some kids feel less alone too. Or you can just laugh at what a weenie I was. Yeah. She shows some great concept art of figuring out the camp and figuring out the characters. She does a nice thank you to all these other people in comics who were helpful to her. By art we live. So this is great. The Scholastic first second market is becoming a bigger and bigger part of comics. It's kind of as the whole comics industry is struggling, this is one that's doing well. And some people are concerned that, if you bring the books to school and you make the kids read the books, then of course the book is going to sell well. But to me, the question is, are the books kind of through the Scholastic, school age market, are they good? This is a good book. This is a genuine adventure. It's a real kind of nonfiction style adventure, but it remembers the actual characteristics to make something engaging and meaningful to a young person. I'd give this to a young person. I think they'd learn good lessons from this. I think they'd learn how to deal with their problems in a healthy way and not in a mean-spirited or cruel way. A genuine character overcoming problems by bettering herself and trying to adopt the best attitude possible to get over the problem. Spoke to kind of my childhood Marmaduke fan who went to camp and had to learn about dealing with bullies. That should be a story time video sometime. What I learned from my bullies and how my bullies actually made me a better Marmaduke fan. With that, I'm number one Marmaduke fan. I love you guys. Like, comment, subscribe. If you check out Be Prepared, let me know. Oh, do check out Anya's Ghost. I love Be Prepared. I think Anya's Ghost is still one of the best comics I've read because it's just such a great, simple, straightforward adventure story with a creepy ghost story, but not too scary for kids. I gotta find Anya's Ghost again. Be Prepared. Excellent book in the tradition of Anya's Ghost. I love it. Love you guys. Catch you later.